Hi, John here. We're talking today about being parents of indigo children. I am one. Indigo children, born after 1978, really came on strong in the 80s. Um, some were born early in the 50s. I'm one. I'm an early indigo. So I get these indigos. They're very powerful, but I get where they're coming from, and today we're going to share a little bit about that with you. Indigo children have a new power about them. They land higher than we did. That's not particularly unusual because every generation lands a little higher than the one before. We landed higher than our parents. If you're a boomer, they were builders. We were boomers. There's some X generation in there too. Those poor guys got slammed around. But the Indigo children, our children, are born between 1978 and their children will create a new environment. But these children here are unique. They are strong-willed, strong-headed. They have at the same time some interesting insight, and most of them seem to be old souls. They're particularly wise at a very young age, 9, 10, 11. You start hearing the wisdom from them that one might expect from an elder or somebody experienced in life. On the other side, they have very little regard for whatever stood before them, and if contempt comes in their way regarding this thing, it can be cursed, and no respect or reverence shown for precious little, and which is a shock to us as parents because we came from that 50s, 60s era where I mean you had respect. I mean we had men coming home from with veterans, war sufferers, people who had gone through all kinds of things to make us give us the freedoms that we had, and these kids don't seem to see any of that, and we are. So these things change. And I only say that this stuff to tell you that you're not crazy and that you're not bad parents. Because if there was ever a group of children that should have come with instructions, it should have been these indigos. Children born after 1978 and into the 80s. And, you know, these children are complicated, but they're here for a purpose. And they're here for a very good and blessed purpose. They're here to help reassemble the new and the old as it crumbles. I mean, we've got a system out there that's not working, and they have no patience for things that don't work, or have you noticed? And if you talk to these indigo children and you come into them like your father or your mother did with a strong position with no negotiated change, this is the way it's going to be, and if that's not going to be it, then you'll have to force it down their throat. I'll tell you, they'll just shut down, not listen, and they will fight back to their death. And they have no boundaries of revenge or war. It's certainly true. So, you and I are talking about the same children. They're often diagnosed as ADD and HADD, which could be not true. We may find that these are just personalities who cannot get kind of humbled enough to accept anything from the old to change and morph into the new, which is kind of their downfall. But at the same time, you see it's the nucleus for break and change, and there is going to be all that. But it's not you. And if you really want to get through this, because I'm in it and through it, if you really want to do this, you're really going to have to give them what they want, because you've always wanted to give them what you want. That's how we got here. We got here because we wanted to give them all the things we never had, and we did. And in that regard, sometimes they have precious little respect or gratitude. Are you finding that? They just think it's theirs, and they're here to take it, and they're here at a special level, and we should recognize that. And you know what? They are here at a special level, and you better recognize it, but not in homage to them, but in praise of yourself. You've raised a very independent, powerful child who chooses to do things their way, and that's their freedom. That's their personal freedom as being human beings in their space. This is what they have coming, just like you do. What you have to learn to do is what I had to learn to do, and that's to leave them alone and let them do what they want once they're past a certain age. When they're young, you have to guide them a little bit. Guiding's tough because it always ends up in a brawl. But if you can kind of see them from the place of the creative who they are, and if they're going to kind of spin off like a top, I mean, as long as they're not going to hurt themselves, you almost have to kind of let them bump up against what's there now, and that what's there now is what you and I understand. And if they come and ask you about how the hell does this thing work, I've never seen this, why is it so stupid and why is it here, you can explain to them why it's so stupid and why it's here. How it made everything work in days gone by, but yes, things have changed and perhaps they need to change again, but in a certain fashion. So all I'm saying to you is that this isn't about you and you have not screwed up. These people are here with purpose and they're children and they're yours, but if there was ever a generation that would grow to a certain place and then you would just let them go, because remember, they come here of their own understanding and they have their own God. They're not misguided, screwed up, and never going to be any good. Yes, they are going to be just fine. They have their own God. They don't need you to go get your God to protect them or to take care of them. Let it go. What you're hearing them scream is, leave me alone and let me go live my life. Leave them alone and go live your own life. Yeah? Leave them alone and go live your own life. You've done a great job. You've done all you can do. Don't worry. You've done all you can do. You did great. Everything's about balance. And you took them to school and you taught them and you fed them and you trained them and you gave them all the values that you had. Some of them they bought into, some of they didn't. And if they didn't, that's their perfect right and prerogative to. You can't stick it down their throat. And if they don't believe what you believed and what your grandmother believed and your great-grandfather believed, that doesn't mean you failed in passing on the torch. You told them what they needed to hear from what you know. If they choose to listen to something else or to create their whole new world, that's fine. And don't begrudge them that, because you know what? These kids, when they're done, it's always a little better. Maybe a little bit of ashes on the ground and broken pottery, but I'll tell you what, it is better. We've got a better world. We've got more things that make it convenient for people like you and I. But take yourself out of it, because after a certain place, they're on their own and they want to be. Yeah, man. Relax with this. Breathe in well. You've been the best mother you could have possibly been. You've been the best father that you could have possibly been, given the situation. These are not easy children to teach. And some of them come already loaded up anyways. All we were supposed to do is feed them and educate them, and they're going on their own. That's okay. Because they're tough out there. They don't really want us out there and to interfere within their thinking. And you know what? All you can say is, thank you, thank you. I have other things to do. I have a life to live too. So go get it. Go get your life. Go get your life and don't worry about that. You've done a great job. You've done a great job. Yeah. Parents of Indigo children, if you want to know more, come inside. We're going to check it out.